who's looking to create structural changes in the format of meetings in the future, right? So let's begin first, Kyla, with what is the problem that we're trying to solve?
All right, so I believe Kanan yesterday she asked us to help her to measure the efficiency of the outreaching practice.
Okay, let's take a look. Let's start with the document. Can you pass me the link to the document and let's examine
All
it?
right,
I'll
yeah.
share. I'll share the screen. Yeah.
Sorry, which document? The one that I made?
Which one do you think we should work on first?
Okay, so this is interesting since if you take a look, Kagan has simplified the document, the online canvassing management paper.
Okay. All right. Let's take a look at that. Let's take a look at the online canvassing paper. Yeah.
All right, here's the link.
Okay. And I will open the link, and I'll share the screen, and let's take a look. Okay. So da 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 da. Da. All right. Oh, okay. All right. This looks good. Oh, too bad we can't see the before and after. I think we're only seeing the after now. Let's take a look at this. So we began, I think, with this particular definition, right? We're going to need to structure this better because there's ultimately two types of documents, I think, that every chapter will consume. One is like the evolutionary document, all right? It shows how the best practice evolves. And the second is the best practice document. So it's a little bit like, I would say, a tree, kind of like a tree and branch structure. This is just, I don't know, like a quick computer science.
Sir,
Yeah.
sorry, I'd like to confirm. So, what I gathered is what you're trying to solve here is to simplify or to create the document more, I mean, more, I don't know. So your urgency is more of the recreating the document, right?
Mhm.
All
The,
right. Okay.
the urgency here is actually to have a document that serves a purpose, right? And the
Mm,
purpose needs to be this. Okay, so the purpose needs to be we we are able to not reinvent the wheel, and we're always able to invent a better wheel. So those two purposes, right? We don't
yes.
reinvent the wheel, and we continue developing a better wheel. So you need something that will inform, let's say, a new person or whoever might be a delegate to this particular group, what is the current best practice and how do we actually implement that best practice, right? And then you need an evolutionary structure that looks at that best practice and thinks about how to make it even better, or even questions whether or not that is actually a best practice given the present day circumstances. Okay, so
Okay.
the previous document, everything was kind of jumbled together, right? It's like just
Yes.
so let's create some space and create some distance so that we can understand what needs to go where. Okay,
All right.
so yeah, take it away, Kyla. Tell me what we have.
So right now we have so last time Kagani was already create this table.
Hmm.
It's consists of this of actually three sections, but I also added other three the online canvassing. Oh, sorry. Okay, so Kagani last time was creating this table, and I added three more rows
Hmm.
to classify the other related documents, but I guess this is not enough. This is not clear enough to navigate through the document.
Let's take a look at it, right? So I think we have a few things here. This right here, these steps,
Yes.
probably needs to be removed from this document, okay? Because the steps is actually a best practice, right? So
Yeah.
what I like to do is, let's say, for example, you kind of need a evolutionary thing. Okay, here's what an evolutionary framework would look like. So let's say, actually, wait. Let's not reinvent the wheel. Let's not reinvent the wheel. I'll show you what we have from a previous from the HR chapter.
Yeah.
So, okay, wait, give me a second. This is here. Okay, this is what I mean by the evolutionary framework. Do you have, let's say, a think of it like Twitter or Facebook, right? So each of the most recent updates is updated, and then you need to have a discussion section over here.
Yes.
How effective was it, and did it actually
Mm,
reach the results? Is that actually here right now?
no, but okay. So, sir, I gotta admit something.
Yeah.
So I think I confuse what Canadian actually asks of me and
Mhm.
you. So you're focusing on recreating the document, while last night I kind of focusing on measuring the outreaching efficiency. So if you take a look at the outreach efficiency or assessment metrics, at the last section you'll find I have created it. So
Ah, yes. Okay. I wrote to you
yeah,
on this one too as well. Okay.
okay, this is embarrassing. So,
Mhm. Oh, okay. There you have it. I think you
yeah,
have it
actually,
there.
so I think I kind of confused there.
Okay. No, no, no,
So
no. This is great. This is great, actually. This is essentially your roadmap, actually, right? So I know you wrote this to be your roadmap. These aren't roadmaps. These are flowcharts, right?
mm,
These are essentially just showing what the process is like. A roadmap shows essentially where you're going. What is essentially the end target? Think of it this way. So you have a product like an iPhone 1, okay?
mm,
iPhone 1 at Apple. So you have a roadmap for the iPhone 2, right? You have a plan based on, all right, here's all the feedback that we got about the iPhone 1, such as it was too thick,
I
it
see.
didn't have fast enough Wi-Fi coverage, the
Mm,
screen was too small, it was short battery life. So you put all that stuff over there, and then that gives you a vision to then come to the next one. Okay, what should the iPhone 2 have? And
oh,
that's essentially what you're building here, right? So you kind of have two parts here. You have a current best practice, and then
mm,
you have actually a roadmap there that kind of guides you in your quest to find the best practice. I would separate them, right? So the best
right.
practice should be a leaf node. It should be, okay, this is the best practice for June 2021. Okay. But it might not be the best practice for July 2021 or August
I see.
2021. Okay. And what you're going to use to keep track of that is essentially this. This is your evolutionary roadmap. It's going to
Mm,
kind of take and analyze each particular version and update it. The benefit of this is this, Kyla. There's a lot of smart people in the room right now. There's 60, 70, I think, really clever interns. There's more than enough people who can do and more than enough people who can think. So what you're trying to do is you're trying to make your work as transparent as possible so that you can actually have people, let's say, look at it and think, all right, this is what you can do for the next version and improve it
right.
continuously. But this is the part about improving the wheel, innovating the wheel. Nobody knows what to innovate on if they can't see how the current version has been designed and what
Yes.
was the thought process put into it. Okay, so two different levels, right? One is more like kind of a managerial level. The other is more like kind of like an execution level. You need to have both there. Okay.
All right.
Cool. All right. So this is good. I probably, if I were you, I would move this particular thing over here to the very top. Okay. So you can take this graph that you see here and you can move it to the online canvassing management because that will tell you essentially what the current status is and what the next evolution will be. And each of the current methods can be you can just write a best practice box, right? For
Yes.
that, this is the current best practice box, and whenever you have a best practice, it's a really good. You guys do very well on that one. You're very comprehensive about what the best practice is. So, but you'll need versioning, right? This is the
Yeah.
June 2021 best practice, and then this is the next best practice, and you'll need to think of a way to link all those things into your roadmap actually.
Yes.
So, yep, that's pretty much it. In this one, you can just put your process here. All right, like what is the process that you're analyzing? When did you create it? Yeah, how far did it get? Right.
Mm.
You might need a tally, right? Like instead of first meeting, pitch, converted, how many first meetings, how many
Oh.
pitches, right? So that you can
Mm.
compare the effectiveness of one particular method versus another particular method. Make sense?
Yes, I agree.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. It's okay. You're gonna probably go through. Actually, let me stop monologuing. I'll listen to you a little bit more. What other ideas do you have right now, Kyla?
No, no, I totally agree with what you just suggested,
Okay.
but I still have a question.
Sure.
So, um, when I start interning in Bukit Vista, Kaba, you stated that online canvassing is the only activity that uh, does not have any evolution paper.
There you have it. Right? How silly is
Um,
that? And yet, online
but
canvassing.
yeah, but the more I try to do the online canvassing, the more I try to do the purge. The thing that I keep on thinking is how exactly can I make evolution when I, so last night I was trying to keep track on okay what's the first attempt,
Hmm.
how did it go.
Very
I
good.
try to keep track on it, but I cannot find anything. And when I try to create the this month practices, the constraint that I faced was that I cannot exactly put I cannot exactly classify which attempt or which practice is which. So I still have no idea how to create the
Awesome.
evolution,
I see.
right? Because basically what we've done is a repetitive, sir. So I keep on
Okay.
approaching people and yes, doing that.
Okay. I think it's two jobs, right?
Yeah.
One job is to think about what is the current best practice and how to actually do that. That's more tactical level. So how
Yes.
do we actually move? The second is more strategical, is how do we evolve our tactics, okay? Currently, I think there's a lot of okay, this is how I would organize it, right? This is a tactic that you see right here in steps. This actually belongs in its own document. And I think this tactic probably needs to go into this board right here, right? Instead of messages and lines, it should be this is our current tactic. We'll call it tactic, Gani 101 or something like that, right? If Gani created it, this was his first version of it, okay? So then that goes up there. And we just analyze what is the effectiveness of this particular tactic. So this is where you need to think of what's the KPI, right, of an effective tactic. What is it's sort of it's like kind of a sub SLA thing, right? So the main SLA is to get a certain goal, but you need to also think about, okay, how do I evaluate if I'm going to use this particular method? How do I evaluate the effectiveness of this method? What should this method produce by a certain amount of time? And that can be one of the ways that you keep track and decide whether to evolve or to continue on a current tactic. Okay, you could say a good tactic should produce, let's say, 10 leads a week, right, or 20 leads a week, and a better tactic can improve that by 15%. So you can start doing tests, right? You can say, all right, we're going to put 5 people on this tactic and 2 people on this tactic and see which one actually starts running better, right? And you can see, okay, the sort of the cost benefit ratio. If we outreach 50 times on this and we got 20 replies, and we outreach, only 10 times on this one and we got 20 replies, then we probably should use this one because it's twice as efficient as the previous one, right? And then that would then stimulate another evolution. And this is then how you can actually harness a lot of creativity from the team, because then everybody can like add their own, uh, sort of like it's like a jazz band, right? Everyone adds their own little piece into the overall music, and in a jazz band, your KPI is how many people clap, right, or get excited when you come up with your new riff. For this one, is probably the productivity of the tactic, and how much results it produces. So your results are correct. Yeah, those are absolutely correct. But I think you also need to think about the time, right? Divide it by the time. So what is the meetings per week from this tactic? What is the pitches per week from this tactic? Because that will also allow you to decide when to make the change. What do you think?
Um, when you said the timing, do you mean the duration of the practice? Like how
Well,
long do we try it?
right. Like I think this is an important thing to think about, Kyla. So a lot of KPIs, a lot of results should not be thought of as just fixed numbers. They should be thought of as a rate, right? How much by how much time. right? So if you have two tactics and one is producing, let's say, 20 meetings and 10 pitches, and the other one is also producing 20 meetings and 10 pitches, well, how do you decide which one's better? Whichever one reached the result faster, right? That one should be better. So I think that's important because if you don't consider things in terms of a rate, there's no emphasis on okay, it's time to change, right? Or if something got started a little bit earlier and it's looking more successful, is it actually the correct tactic? Or did it just have a head start and you're not counting that? So one of the things that we picked up in HR actually was the effective KPI is a rate, not it's like not the it's not like the total number of applicants, right? Because the total number of applicants could be a week or 3 weeks or 4 weeks, right? But it's the applicants per week. And then once we had that, it was much more effective to determine which tactic, which messaging strategy to use. Yeah. So that I think can be. Oh, actually, I'm just going to write that on. Yeah. So that so you get that benefit. Think of results as a rate. So some sort of KPI divided by time. This will be a bit more effective than thinking as a fixed KPI. All right. I don't know what that should be, but okay. Yeah, that's that. Overall, like this retrospective is interesting, but I think it's more of a culture, right? More of like, all right, it can be included on this, but I think it needs its own section again. It's like, all right, we have a weekly retrospective, and what was the result from that retrospective, right? And having
Yes.
that documentation there would be good. But let's see. Any other questions that you'd like to ask, Kyla?
So the things that I always want to ask is how how much the freedom I have to recreate this document. Can I
You
make
have
my
you have a lot of freedom. Look, you can
yeah.
restructure the entire thing if you want. You can start from scratch, Kyla. Okay. What I need you to do is just to not do this, right? You can make a new template and do whatever you want to the new template and design it in the way that you see fit. Okay. That is great. That is called being the hero. Okay. You're gonna restructure everything you're gonna like kind of imagine you had the chance to redo Jakarta, right? Like you could rebuild Jakarta from the way it should have been built in the very beginning. So do it, right? Because I'm sure everybody in the city would definitely appreciate that. I mean, I don't think anybody appreciates the way Jakarta's been built. So yeah, if this is Jakarta, then rebuild Jakarta. Okay, build it in the way that you see that it should have been done in the very beginning, and but don't destroy this because we still need to do something, right? So you don't like wipe Jakarta off and then rebuild it, and then no one has a place to live, right? So you need to kind of oh, do you know how a DJ works?
No.
Okay,
No.
well, I can demonstrate today. Wow. Okay, I can actually demonstrate today how DJs work, right? Because I got like
Why is that more? Hi Mo.
hey, Kyla, babe, Kyla's saying
Kenapa
hi.
Kayla?
Hi Mo.
Apa kabar?
I'm good.
Okay, Kyla, this is the very first time I've been able to do this because I finally got a DJ kit. So I want you to watch this, right? Because this is amazing. So not now. Okay. So this is what a DJ does, right? So a DJ puts one track.
Hmm?
Okay. Oh, sorry, this is really loud.
Whoa!
Okay. So DJ starts on one track, right?
Yes.
On the left turntable, okay? And then they move the crossfader over, so all you hear is what's happening on the left turntable, okay? And then what the DJ does also is that they also start a second song on the right turntable, okay? And then they look for a moment, they sync both songs, and they look for a moment
Ano?
to fade the song over, okay? And then what they do next is they take the next song, they put it in, they sync it up, and they look for another moment to fade it over again, right? Okay, all right. I'm so happy I could actually do that as an example. I've always wanted to do that. All right.
Where you?
My point is this. My point is this.
Kebanggaan sendiri tuh Kayla.
Hey,
I
this is my meeting.
know.
Go away. Go away. You distracted me. I forgot where I was.
What?
Okay, all right, here it is.
I'm just
Mm,
Okay,
smile.
all
I
right.
don't do anything.
All right, my point is this: whenever you want to innovate on something new, don't destroy the old
yes.
first, right? You need to kind of keep the old, and then you're going to fade over to the new one. So you have to build the new one first. You kind of can test it out, and when it's ready, you move
Mm,
everybody over. Okay, that's an
okay.
example of how you crossfade, and that I got to finally use the DJ example in real life. That's cool. Okay, so crossfade it. Yes, I'm very happy you asked. If you asked, that means you can see a vision that is hopefully extraordinary. Yeah. Okay. Anything else that I can fill you in on?
Um, so, sir, if you take a look at the steps section,
Which section?
oh, below, if you go down to like
Okay.
this, yeah, the steps, yeah,
Yeah.
the using Facebook and extra.
Yep.
Um, this is the best practice, but how can I exactly track? Like, should I create a document that create the evaluation from this month?
Yes. Okay. So
Or
you might need a document with this. This would be probably my way of doing it, right? So, okay, this is how I would. This would be my vision, right? So you could. Let me see. How would I lay this out? You probably need something like this, right? So this is the sub method, and this is the evolution tracking. Now, this gets into a bit of like how you want to create data structures, right? So you could say this is the booking.com method, and then you could have a document tracking it, and that has to be is just a scrolling a diary, or I'll demonstrate. Okay, I'll show you kind of like how I would do it. Right. Let's say this is booking.com. So I'm going to copy this. Okay, and I'll split this out here. Let me create a split screen. Yeah, Kitty Kitty, what's up? I want a cup. I don't have a cup. You want a cup? Okay, here's a cup. Here. No, this cup. Here, take this cup. There you go. You're all set. Yeah, you can drink the coffee and you'll be like super hyped. Okay, so you can do it kind of like this, right? I would say this is, let's say, the booking.com method evolution, right? And let's say you put that in, and let's say you have a date here. Okay, so you just have that, and let's say this is the current best practice, right? And let's pretend that this is already an evolved version of this. So then you could have, let's say, June 15th, and this
mm,
was the whatever, and this was the previous version of that, right? And then you just link this back up here, and then we can see what the booking.com evolution is, right? So that has benefits, pros and cons, right? Because anybody who wants to know the best method, they have to click and open each particular thing. It's not all harvested and put up at the top level, which is sort of annoying. But that allows each particular method to evolve on its own particular way, right?
yes,
And yeah, does that make sense?
yes, I
Okay.
kind of like to isolate things more.
Yeah, yeah. So if you have that, then you can track each particular method. It's unfortunate that we don't have horizontal scrolling here, because if you could create, let's say, a horizontal table that scrolled infinitely, like to the left or right, then you could probably just arrange it that way, right? So it would look like a cell. You just keep on going to the left to find the most recent evolution. But life isn't perfect, I guess, right? So that would be one method of organizing the data.
Yes.
Yeah.
A question.
Yes.
So, what I found while doing the practice is when I start looking at Google Maps,
Uh-huh.
the Google Maps practice, so I couldn't careless whether I can try another method because I believe that's the best
Okay.
practice.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's kind of constrained to me
Yeah.
to find another method, right? So what if after I create the document, no one actually filled it?
Okay, let me try to understand what you just said. So you said that the Google Maps method was a little bit constraining, and you wanted to create a new method for Google Maps.
Sorry. So when someone see the best practice title, they tend to just apply it. They
Yes.
tend to try it out without trying to find another new way.
Ah, yeah, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
that's
So what if
uh-huh.
yeah, what if after I created the document, no one feels the evolutions because they didn't even care whether to try new method
Ah,
or
okay.
not?
Then that is actually an interesting question. One way to do it is okay. So if you want to change people's behavior, um, that is a
Yeah.
management issue. That's a team management issue. That's not necessarily a documentation or a business intelligence. That's a team management issue. You're going to need to persuade people to use the new method. Okay. Now, because we always have rotating groups of interns, newer interns don't know what older interns have seen, right? That's one good benefit of this thing.
Yeah.
So you could actually just delete the older method, let's say, and just show them the newest method so that they wouldn't even know to use, let's say, a method that wasn't as effective. But if you need more help with, let's say, distributing a best practice or getting people to adopt a best practice, tag me. I'm pretty good at this. It's a different type of thing. Sometimes people need to be led, right? They need to see somebody else use it first and then adopt it. Sometimes they need to be monitored, right? So you have to look at the work and go like, hey, why aren't you using this new best practice? You would be more effective, right? If you got there, and those moments usually come down to during a scrum, right? So if somebody is, let's say, behind on a particular SLA or a particular thing that they're trying to do, we need to ask, are you using the best method? And they go, no. Okay, well then can you use the best method? And you probably would get more results at your next update. So, but this is more to do with team leadership and management. If you see any issues with that, let me know, and I'll drive it with Bayou to get people to adopt the best practices. Okay, don't worry too much about that. That's a leadership thing, unless you want to. Unless you want to try doing it yourself.
Yeah.
No, okay.
It's okay.
Delegate that to me or to Bayou. Currently, not everybody in the team has equal, let's say, managerial capabilities. So I think Bayou and I are probably your best bet, and we can get that done. Okay, but that's a separate issue. Documenting the best practice is one thing, and then get everyone to use it is two different things. Yeah. Okay.
All right, so if I conclude this, I need to focus on creating the evolution document for each of the method.
I thought,
And
yeah.
after that, yeah, and just try to recreate the document that not throw away the old document. And after that, determine the KPI to measure the effectiveness of each tactic.
Yep, that's it.
Correct?
You got it. You got it.
Okay.
Okay, perfect. So basically, this is what we mean in the theme of the month by going deeper. So we have our current best practices, but how do we go deeper and make those best practices even better over time? So yeah, definitely take that in consideration. Structure the document in a way that allows for clarity to happen, and I think then that works. If I may, I'll just explain really quickly what we've been doing. Let's say as this is a simple thing, right? Like what let's see, where do we have it? Okay. Uh, okay, awareness outreach. So one of the things this is a pretty vital discovery. One of our interns who was working in the PR team from the previous batch, we didn't actually analyze his outbound messages until the very last day of his internship, right? Because he was producing pretty good results. His practices were pretty good. But it wasn't until the last day when we analyzed what he was sending out that we realized there was a lot of room for improvement, basically, right? There was basically two major mistakes that he was making, but he wasn't aware that he was making these mistakes because nobody was analyzing his outbound messages. So imagine if actually he had not been making those mistakes at the beginning of his internship, then how much more productive would he actually have been, right? And how much more evolved he could have actually developed. So the this is essentially what you guys are trying to do as well. It's really about communication strategy, coming up with the right message at the right time and the right, actually for online canvassing, It's a little bit more of how do you actually create better observation. But okay, anyways, so we're trying to test all four. How do we get the right mix? Um, so we have discussions up here in this document about both the messaging and also the audience channel and timing innovation. So we have two innovation sort of pathways. One innovation is how do we message better, right? How do we get more effective messaging? The second innovation is how do we pick the right channel, how do we pick the right timing and the right audience. We could create four papers for that, but we decided to just create two and integrate three elements in one and one element in the other. So the discussions at top level happen here, right? Okay, do we get the right audience? Do we get the right messaging? Happens here in the top level document. Wait, let me actually remove this so it's more. Okay, and we write our conclusions here. And then the individual evolutions for messaging happens here, right? Where we essentially show, okay, this is what I do, right? So I ask, all right, everybody, let's take a look at your most recent messaging outreach and what you've actually said. So then we get everybody to analyze it. We think of ways to improve it. We write down new best practices, and each time we do it, we get slightly better and better and better and more effective, and we get more done with less work. So that's effectively the purpose of having this evolutionary document. This is a good way to also engender, I'm not sure if that's even a word, but spread best practices. Because if everybody takes a look and analyzes each particular method, then everyone gets their own ideas, right? They can see, oh, okay, this person's using this. I'm going to use this in my next iteration. So that's one way that you can make sure that people pick up best practices is to ask them to analyze and to look at another person's perspective, understand it, and once they've understood it, then it's more likely that somebody will actually do it. The greatest barrier is generally understanding. People just are lazy and they don't want to understand and they continue doing whatever they did before, right? So by having these discussions, you improve the understanding and you can kind of focus on a best practice really early. So that's what we do for the messaging. And then for the distribution choice, we have a separate evolutionary document that keeps track of each of the type of audiences and timing and channels that we use so that we can also analyze that and try to figure out what to do better over time. Okay? All right. If you need any inspiration, I'll just drop this here. This works pretty well. Yeah? Okay, good. This works pretty well. Everybody is in the PR team using best practices very fluidly. We don't have too many problems with that. And yeah, I think that should be able to give you some guidance. Yeah. Okay, fantastic. Glad you like it. All right, I'm gonna if this is all good, I'll share this video back to you so you can watch this video later if there's anything that you want to review,
Yes.
and yeah, hopefully that will be helpful. Okay.
All right. So I'm going to try to creating the document and then I'll report to you.
Yeah, yeah, yes, please. I would love to see it. Ideally, Bayou should be doing this, but I think we're a little bit ahead of the HR is ahead again. Yeah, we were behind for a long time. Our chapter was very non-evolutionary, and then we had a breakthrough because I think we took action first with the large number of interns that we have in the company now. So this allows for more people to work more effectively. Okay. Yeah.
All
When
right.
you're ready, just tag me on paper or whatever. I never sleep. I'm just always like looking for problems to solve in the
Yeah,
company.
I realized that.
Yeah.
Last night I was like checking on the paper and you were there
Yeah.
comment.
You know why? It's because I have 100 Mbps internet. I'm so stoked by this thing. It's like it's crazy. I'm trying to use 1% or 10% of the capacity. So what I'm doing now that I couldn't do before is I just make little mini videos of myself like explaining things that are like 2 minutes, and I'd be like, okay, all right, just watch this now, right? This is a more rich experience than if I just wrote a comment. So
Yes.
so yeah, look at this. Look, it's beautiful. It's like 170. You can do all kinds of crazy things with that. 240. It's like nuts, right? It's like
Yeah, I see JJ base is very yeah.
it's pretty. And yet no one's here. I mean, I feel like I have $1 million and I'm holding like a rappers party, and I can't get anybody on the guest list. So anyway, okay, so yeah, that's yeah. Hit me up anytime. Have me look at it, and I'll give you feedback. Yeah,
One more.
yeah,
Should I mention Kabayu too because he
yes,
understands the
yes,
marketing.
yeah. Tag Bayou too. Bayou
Tag
understands more than
Bayu.
just marketing. Bayou understands
Yeah,
strategy.
I realized that.
Yeah.
You're super smart.
Yeah. We're really lucky to have Bayou at the very beginning of the company. I think he really thinks Bayou is a pretty good combination of two things, right? One, he sees the strategy very clearly. You know what stoicism is? What stoicism? I can't say this word. A stoic. Stoicism. Yeah, that.
No, I've heard it, but I've never really dig deeper into it.
Okay, it is a old Greek philosophy that basically means that you should basically not let your emotions interfere with your way of seeing the world for what it is, and take everything without a emotional distortion, you could say, right? So because Bayou wholeheartedly believes in that, he can see strategy very clearly. So I always go to Bayou to ask about strategy. That is his strength. He might not be polite in the way he expresses it, but it's okay because he puts it in a way that everybody will understand using radical candor, right? So that part is good. So Bayou is definitely really sharp about that. So I think that is where you can, yeah, he helps people in check, and he also sees um, he sees the way that the end game should be played, right? In terms of where people are, in terms of where strategy is, he can arrive at that conclusion really quickly. That I would say is Bayou's chief point. Okay, I got to go, but Carla, have a nice day, and I'll send you the link to this video. Okay.
Yes, yes. Thank you,
All right.
sir.
See you.
Have
Bye
a
bye.